Guys, welcome back. You guys will know, obviously, us at Strength for Endurance, we are big fans of obviously kind of screening everyone that we work with. We kind of want to make sure that not only do we know what we're working with, but what we want you to know what kind of you're working with. I mean, like give you the real clarity as to kind of where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, etc. So that then you can then build on those, and you can then clearly see where your results are coming from, and you can clearly see whether those weaknesses are getting stronger and getting better. One of the kind of clear and probably most well-known exercises for kind of screening movement patterns, especially in the strength and conditioning world, is the overhead squat. Now, you know, it's probably one of the premium exercises, and if you've ever been on a course or you've ever been in a class with someone who has been taught, they'll want you to get into the overhead squat position, because in one movement, it allows us to look at pretty much everything that your body is capable of, all the key major muscle groups, all your kind of the joints, how they all work together. Are you able to sit deep into the squat? Are you able to kind of move into deeper ranges through the ankle, through the hip, through the upper thoracic? It tells us a lot. However, it's also one of the most disempowering exercises that you can probably get someone to work in, especially a beginner and especially a member of an endurance community. So someone who is predominantly a runner, cyclist, maybe a swimmer might get away with it. But generally, you'll never see us prescribing an overhead squat until someone is in the advanced kind of stages of their strength training, simply because of the level of disempowerment it gives people, but also just the complexity of the movement. Putting most of our clients into, or most people into this position, everyday people, you're going to see classic things. You're going to see rounding of the spine, you're going to see collapsing of the knees, and you're going to see poor thoracic mobility. So they're going to have the ability to get the bar overhead and to hold these strong positions. And it's just going to look, feel horrible. Okay, and it's not something that we look to promote on the first session or in the first couple of exercises that someone does. We want them to be aware of their weaknesses, but we want to make sure that we're not kind of crushing their spirits so much that they don't even want to take part, or they want to kind of continue. So instead of looking at the overhead squat, we break the movement down into two pieces. We first look at their overhead position. So simply by looking at a banded passover, are they able to move overhead with their arms? We use a resistance band to kind of allow for a little bit more slack. You can do the same thing with a broomstick. Just keeping the arms straight, trying to keep the more upright kind of, we're trying to avoid this hyperextension through the lower back, but we're just looking for a nice clean passover, and we're looking for those little asymmetries, those kind of slight deviations in your body, in your position. Are the shoulders lifting? Are you having to bend one elbow one side to get it over? Is there complete lack of range of motion altogether? But it was stripping it back. We can also then look at their thoracic mobility in a number of other ways, but today we're just going to look at that one. And the other one obviously is looking at their kind of the squat mechanics. And we can do that simply by looking at a bodyweight squat. Can the individual move past parallel? Do they have relative symmetry in the knees, hips, shoulders, etc.? For us, and especially for you, if you're looking to kind of, as a screening tool to get going and to kind of build some level of confidence, then we can start to obviously unpack some of these more complex movements and make them more manageable to start with. Not to say we're not going to be doing the overhead squat in the future, it's just at what time do we start to bring that in. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of people try to do the more complicated, complex movements too early on, get disempowered, or they can get injured, and then obviously they lose sight of kind of the real kind of the fundamentals or the purpose of or the results that our strength conditioning program can bring. So for us, we look to obviously our screening tools that we bring in are all going to be somewhat manageable, somewhat doable. The single leg squat, single leg RDL. We want to make sure that there's going to be a level of complexity. However, they're going to be able to be done by any person, anywhere, anytime, and then we can build out from that. All right.